Now, Eyewitness Sports.
All right, welcome to Double OT. Mark Dondero. I'm Yanni Caracas, taping this Tuesday night, 8:09 p.m. Lots to get to. How you doing?
Good. How you holding up? Were you going to look at something to make fun of me? Hair, beard, what?
You doing that face? Yeah, no shade. It's not bad. Fryer thinks he's funny. He's been joking on your facial hair.
Yeah.
Tell Fryer to relax.
I don't know what that is on his face, but whatever.
All right, let's start with some baseball. David Price, who was rude to you last week and drove away in his tank at McCoy, actually looked okay Monday in his debut with the Red Sox this season. 5 innings, 300 runs, which I proudly projected and bragged about later. Did that outing, was it encouraging? Does it make it seem that he is back for good as a frontline starter?
Well, you just asked me 2 questions there. Was it encouraging? I guess it was encouraging. I mean, he didn't suck like he did in Pawtucket where he was just pathetic. But no, that doesn't make me say, oh, he's back. He was good. He was okay. I mean, he was okay. You know, he wasn't bad. He was fine. He gave up that 3-run home run. I think he hit a couple guys. I missed part of the middle innings. But no, it doesn't mean he's back. He had a good, solid outing. His velocity was pretty good. He didn't leave the game injured. That's positive. But last time I checked, isn't David Price supposed to be, what does he make again? $30 million, a top of the rotation kind of guy.
Yeah.
Kevin Bowles talking about how he's one of the best in the world at what he does, and he's gracing the Paw Sox with his presence. No, that doesn't mean he's back. It was a step, I guess, in the right direction. He didn't take a step backwards. But no, 3 runs in whatever, how many innings? What do you have? 5 innings or so? 3 runs in 5 innings. That does not mean you're back when you're David Price and supposed to be a former Cy Young Award winner and a potential ace of the staff, even though that's not what he is.
All right, encouraging things. Obviously, you take 5 innings and 3 runs based on what he showed you in Pawtucket, which was crap. And listen, I think a lot of us didn't think he'd ever really get back. I thought maybe he'd try to come back and the elbow wouldn't be there. And I didn't project him to be a viable frontline starter for the duration of the season. But I think he was hitting 95 on the gun, which is good. If he can just be a 2, like a viable 2 behind Chris Sale. So Chris Sale is what Price was last year, but much better.
Yes.
But like your frontline guy. If he can get you, all right, so what are we, a fourth of the way through the season? 10 wins, I'm happy with that. Can he just be pitching into September so you give him the ball game 2 of a playoff series and you feel comfortable? Because Eddie Rodriguez is coming along. He's more of like your number 2 right now. Pomeranz randomly had a very nice outing last week. So the rotation is kind of slowly coming together. So if we just lower our expectations, put Price in that maybe number 2, if he doesn't get hurt and he can sustain throwing 95, and he had the home run 3-run blast, you take that away. I mean, it's one bad pitch.
Yeah, he had a few mistakes.
But he had a nice double play he got, so like he wasn't flawless.
A lot of help from Xander Bogaerts on that.
Xander Bogaerts.
Okay, but you just said you want to lower his expectations, fine, but I'm not seperating the money from the player. I mean, he makes $30
I think
million
that
a year.
ship has sailed. He's not a $30 million pitcher.
But let's see. Let's see. He's not back yet. Let me stress that he's not back. It was a positive step, but one outing where you don't even get the win and you don't shut them down certainly doesn't mean you're back.
5 innings. I mean, baseball historians, we used to pitch 9 innings. 5 innings is barely half the game.
That's a lengthy outing, but he's not back.
I will say this. I think it was good he was on the road. I mean, he's almost become a road pitcher at Fenway. He's getting so much crap from fans now on social media and everything else. It's almost like people are rooting against Price.
I would have liked to have seen him take the ball with a 7-game win streak on the line. Because
just to put the pressure on him.
That would have had additional pressure attached to it. They lost the night before, the day before, so we didn't get to see that. But he's not back. We'll keep it monitored, though.
Right.
Some people don't think he's going to last 5 starts.
On the radar.
We'll see. Also last week, OTAs for the Patriots. What kind of storylines are you looking for here? They don't wear pads. There's not really, or there isn't hitting. I mean, it's sort of football. But we have to do this show, so what were your major takeaways from Patriots OTAs?
A couple things. One, Gronk looked like he was fully back from that back injury, which is nice because he was at WrestleMania, so it's good to see him actually out on a football field, because when was the back injury? It was initially the Seahawks game and then the Jets game. I think he only played, so it was midway through the season, he only played 8 games. Good to see Gronk back. I'm glad Butler sat there and spoke to the media the first day, because we haven't heard from you all offseason. We thought you were going to be a saint. You signed the tender. What's your long-term deal? And he stood there and took the heat. So I think that's good. That's kind of squashed for the time being. Now let's see these 2 cornerbacks, he and Stephon Gilmore, coexist this year. And I wasn't there, but from all accounts, Brady was throwing dimes to Cooks and a lot of positive things, but mostly that Butler spoke to the media. I liked that from a PR standpoint, and that Gronk looked healthy.
Just kind of get it out of the way.
Yeah.
Talk to the media. Don't create any more speculation that you're unhappy or that you're running from any kind of situation. I'm with you there. You know what my big takeaway was, I guess, just based on JP's package, for crying out loud? They're stacked.
They're stacked.
Just seeing them on the field like that just drove home the point that they are loaded. You have Julian Edelman getting covered by Stephon Gilmore. You have Brandon Cooks going up against Malcolm Butler. I mean, just an embarrassment of riches. It was on display. You got Brady, you got Garoppolo, you got Gillisley, you got Gronk, who looks 100%. Forget about Danny Amendola. Forget about up-and-coming Malcolm Mitchell, all the defensive pieces. Everywhere you look, I started thinking about football again, because you don't do that really in April and March, and the NBA playoffs have been terrible. So I started thinking about football and yearning for it, and I'm just going over the roster. You know, Vincent Valentine was a promising player. He'll be back. I mean, we're not even
Trey
talking
Flowers.
We're not even talking about Vincent Valentine. Trey Flowers could be a star. I mean, everywhere you look, it's oh yeah, and they have that guy up and down the roster.
Yeah.
They are loaded. It's going to be a fun, not just season to project leading up to the regular season, but you know, you would think watching it play out, Tom Brady, Jimmy Garoppolo, that whole dynamic, that's kind of about to hit the fan at the end of the year. We'll see how that progresses, but it's just. This is kind of what Patriots. It is. It is. It feels that way.
You're worrying for the other shoe to drop.
That's right. It almost feels like this is what Patriots fans have dreamt about. This kind of all-in feeling that we're getting, and I don't think we've gotten it like this before.
And I think even without Brady, if Brady goes down for some reason, they're still a playoff team, a deep playoff team, and we saw them win a Super Bowl without Gronk. So if Gronk goes down and they can win a Super Bowl, every piece in that lineup is replaceable.
That's right.
Or non-destructible. They can still win a Super Bowl with everyone going down other than Brady. At which point it's still up for debate.
And we don't even know. Yeah. Here's the thing. Like in 2007, we've talked about the comparisons between 2007 and this team because it's natural. But in 2007, they had some major weapons. You know, they had Randy Moss. Brady was in his prime. Not that he isn't in his prime, playing like it right now. They had Wes Welker. You know, we all know the history of that team. But it wasn't, oh yeah, and that guy. Oh yeah, and they have this guy. Oh yeah, and the depth here and there. It wasn't like that in 07. They had the frontline guys, the major talent, the Hall of Fame receiver and quarterback combination, the established veteran defense, but it wasn't like it is now with the depth, the youth, the experience, the talent, all of it coming together to form what feels like a super team. And then you factor in, like you said, the quarterback depth. I mean,
and I'll tell you this,
probably could make the damn playoffs.
Even though 07 was only 2 years removed from a Super Bowl, from 04, the bitter taste from 06, losing the AFC Championship game to Indy, there's a certain like feeling with like after just winning a Super Bowl where it's like there's less anxiety. There was so much, I felt like, stress built up in a Patriot fan from 04 until they won it in 14 because you never knew if you were going to get another.
Especially post-Spygate.
Post-Spygate. You never knew if you were going to get another.
Because you felt like people didn't give them credit for the first 3 Super Bowls.
Now it's like we just won 2 in the last 3 years. We're the favorites again, but like there's an easiness to it. Do you feel it that way?
Yeah, I mean, are you talking about from a fan's perspective? From a fan perspective. Sure, yeah. What's there to? I mean, you've done it all. What else is there to accomplish?
It's like Brady has secured his status as greatest of all time. Belichick have.
You've won
now
all
it's
the
just more
arguments.
icing on the cake.
You've won all the arguments.
Brady, Manning, all that stuff is done. All right, let's switch gears to the NBA. Finals is fast approaching. Get to that in a second. First, Markelle Fultz in an interview with ESPN, the presumed #1 draft pick out of Washington. He says he really wants to be the #1 pick. He's had phone conversations with Danny Ainge. They plan an in-person visit shortly. At this point, is Fultz to the Celtics at #1 done?
I don't think it's done. He's saying what he should be saying. I haven't heard Danny Ainge say anything about them wanting Markelle Fultz. I expect Markelle Fultz to go to the Celtics. But no, I'm not going to say it's a done deal. You just never know what can happen. I still think Lonzo Ball is the best player in the draft. So you never know. However, I will say this. I don't necessarily think it's a done deal because Danny Ainge might take somebody else. You know, I think if he selects a guy, it's going to be Fultz. That's what I'm, on the precipice of concluding. But I'm not dismissing the possibility of them trading the pick. I don't want them to do that. I've talked about that. Don't do it, Danny. But that could happen, so I'm not going to say it's a done deal that the Celtics are drafting Markelle Fultz. If for some reason they get blown away with an offer, they could trade the pick, and that's why it's not a done deal.
Yeah, I agree. If they select someone, it's Markelle Fultz. Lonzo Ball has already said he's not working out for the Celtics. That's not to say Danny Ainge wouldn't take Lonzo Ball if he thinks he's the best player. I just think he thinks Markelle Fultz is the best player. They've had phone conversations. They'll probably bring him to Boston to just solidify what they already think about the player. But you're right. If Danny Ainge gets an offer that he can't refuse, to use the Godfather reference, then he's going to make a trade. If it's an established player that he thinks he can build around for the future to win them a championship, he'll do it. Someone made the comparison earlier that it's kind of like Cleveland when they had the #1 pick and then they ended up getting Kevin Love. They did that as part of the trade. But that was sort of different because they had LeBron, a transcendent top player in the league.
LeBron on his way back and Kyrie in place.
And there isn't really precedent in recent memory of trading the #1 pick. Is there? Anything come to mind?
Not off the top of my head.
I mean, there was the old, remember Chris Webber and Anthony Hardaway went 1-3 and they traded. Chris Webber went 1 to Orlando.
Yeah.
Penny went 3 to Golden State and then they traded.
Okay.
Or it was vice versa. Weber went 1 to Golden State, traded 3, whatever.
Here's the
Doesn't
thing.
happen often.
Let me ask you this question. Do you think that there's any pressure on Danny Ainge, and I'm not saying he would care, but do you think there's any pressure on Danny Ainge now that you do have the #1 overall pick to make a selection because it's the #1 pick? And that could be a franchise type guy, a guy that goes down in your history as the #1 overall pick that the Boston Celtics made. If you hit, it's a really good look. It's a big moment for the franchise opposed to just trading it away. I'm not saying it's bad to get an impact player if you trade it away, but there's some distinction that comes with drafting the next big-time franchise
there's pressure
player.
being #1. And if you look at the stats over the last 15 years, the #1 pick is at like a 50% success rate.
Well, it's hard
in terms of an all-star, what you expect.
Listen, Markelle Fultz, Lonzo Ball, this isn't Anthony Bennett. You know, this is a player I think that's going to be good.
But it's not Anthony Davis.
Right.
It's not LeBron James.
Right. Could Fultz be Westbrook? I don't know. That's a lofty expectation.
The bare minimum, you want a perennial all-star. #1 pick.
That is why I keep going back to Lonzo Ball. I don't know if he's going to end up the next superstar, but he's at least going to be Jason Kidd in my mind. All-stars year after year, and that is something that if you're taking the #1 pick, you'd like LeBron, but you can't miss. You can't get Kwame Brown. You have to get at least an all-star that's a perennial all-star.
Who picked Kwame Brown?
Michael
Jeffrey Jordan.
That's correct. Michael Jeffrey Jordan, also very familiar with the NBA Finals. He is not associated with this year's Finals, but his heir apparent is, or if you want to call it that, LeBron James. A lot of comparisons going back and forth. That is not the question here. The question here is, who do you like in the Finals? The third round of these two teams going at it, Warriors and Cavs. Final start Thursday. Who you got?
See, it's so hard because both teams have looked so good throughout the playoffs. A combined 1 loss from Cleveland to
24-1
to the Celtics. I want to pick Cleveland. We saw them in person versus the Celtics. LeBron James has been seducing me with his play, as has Kyrie Irving, who on any given night could be the best player on the floor. But at the end of the day, I'm going Golden State. Just too many, to use a phrase you used earlier, an embarrassment of talent and riches. And if Steph's having a bad night, all right, Kevin Durant's night, or maybe Klay Thompson's night, or maybe, someone else's night. I think they are just way too deep. And I think the Cavs will maybe rely a little bit too much on LeBron. I think it does go 7 games, like we saw last year. And I think Golden State has had an off season and a full season to let this simmer and marinate. They want revenge. Kevin Durant came to Golden State to win this title, and he wants some retribution for losing against LeBron when he was with Oklahoma City. I think they're just too talented. And I don't see Cleveland stopping them defensively much. Cleveland's defense looked good against the Celtics, but that's the Celtics. During the back end of the season, their defense wasn't very good. And we'll see Golden State, put up 115 on Cleveland. So I think it's going to be close, Golden State in 7.
Cleveland was ranked 22nd, I believe, in defense this year. Not good. But LeBron can make up for so many different things and deficiencies and stuff like that. I'm going with the Warriors in 7. I've toyed with the idea of picking the Warriors in 6. I'm going Warriors in 7. The talent is too much. They should have won the finals last year. They were up 3-1. The whole Draymond Green thing. They played better defense. I think they were second in the league to San Antonio in defense. So they play some D. Now, they don't have their head coach, so I don't love that. He's there, he's around, but Steve Kerr dealing with the back issue, so he isn't on the sidelines. I don't love that. Mike Brown is capable, but he's not Steve Kerr. Listen, you said it. Curry, who I think has something to prove. Durant certainly has something to prove, and he's the second best player in the league. And then there's Green, who probably has something to prove after last year. Klay Thompson, one of the best players in the game. I mean, just so many guys. The bench is solid. Here's why, though, I give Cleveland some credit and Cleveland a chance. I think Cleveland is better at taking the ball to the basket. LeBron, we know, is the best at that. Kyrie, for his size, pound for pound, maybe the best in the league at finishing at the rim. And in the playoffs, sometimes the shots aren't falling, no matter who you have on the team. And I think that is why Cleveland will hang around in this series. They can get to the bucket better than Golden State. Now, Golden State has all those weapons that we just discussed. But if for some reason those shots, they go cold for 2 games, and Cleveland steals one, and they're getting to the rim, and they're getting the fouls because they've been going to the rim, I mean, they're getting to the line. That's a big thing.
Couple interesting legacy questions. After being a unanimous MVP last year, I agree. Steph Curry is kind of under the radar in this series. He's probably talked about after LeBron and after Durant, and does he have something to prove?
Yes. Forget about
LeBron James. Unlike 2 years ago when the Cavs didn't have Kyrie Irving, no one really expected Cleveland to compete, and they didn't. So no one knocked LeBron legacy-wise for that. Obviously, his legacy gets enhanced if he wins this. 2 in a row, 4 overall. Will his legacy take a beating if he loses?
Not a bad one, but again, those numbers. Here's what will happen.
So right now he's won 3 and he's lost 3.
He's 3-3. You're right. Yeah. So.
Well, he lost 1 with the Cavs' first incarnation. He lost 2 with the Spurs.
He's 3-4. He's 3-4.
3-4.
So he'd be 3-5
if
he loses.
This is his 8th final.
So here's what will happen. No, he won't get crushed because this is a super team. However, that number will always be there. 3-5 looks really bad. You'll never top Michael. You won't come close at 3-5. You at least have to be over 500, and that makes getting over 500 even harder.
Yeah.
So look, he's not going to get destroyed if the Cavs can't beat this unbelievably, constructed basketball team at Golden State. But it's not going to help his legacy at all. Losing.
Yeah, I don't think it hurts.
3-5. At the end of the day, that's not awesome.
We always say this about the Montana versus Brady deal. Should Brady be penalized for getting to 2 more that he didn't win? Because everyone likes the cleanliness of the 4-0 of Montana's resume.
Listen, no. At the end of the day, at the end of his career, you'll say LeBron James went to 9 finals, won 4 finals, whatever. Even if he was 4-9, you'll say he went to 9, he won 4. That sounds good.
Right.
But if we're talking about the best of all time, the GOAT. No, that's not good enough for the GOAT.
Well, I'm not putting him past Joe.
It's not good enough for the GOAT. You got to be over 5. Listen, if Tom Brady was, 4-0, Joe Montana? If Tom Brady was 5-12 in Super Bowls, I might not call him the GOAT. But when you're 5-2, that's a better ratio. So yes, this will hurt.
Should be exciting.
Big picture, greatest of all time. A loss here will hurt.
I have him at number 2 overall. After
Real
Jordan.
Quick on just Steph Curry. He needs to outplay Kyrie Irving. Don't worry about LeBron. You got to, because they both kind of do the same thing. Great dribblers, shot makers. You got to outplay that guy who hit the shot that won the finals last year. You got to outplay that guy.
Thursday, game 1 from the Bay Area. All right, the big news today, of course, Tiger Woods. We have a nice shot of him swinging a golf club. We didn't put up his
mugshot.
Mainly because I didn't have enough time to request it.
You didn't have time to Photoshop the hair.
Like ESPN did.
Suffice.
All right, everyone knows the story by now. Not alcohol, but drugs, Vicodin and what seems to be some other prescription drugs. Asleep at the wheel for 20 minutes, bumper and front tires banged up. Not a good look. What do you make of it?
It's a disappointing fall, and there's so many thoughts I have on this. The most recent thought, when we were in the office earlier and his picture came up, that mugshot, I was just picturing, can you imagine in 12 years a mugshot of Rory McIlroy like that, or Jordan Spieth just off the face of the earth, at rock bottom. And people have had all kinds of opinions on this. The thing I keep going back to is I would just love to know, we'll never know, but I would love to know at what point or what one thing really caused his downfall. It really broke his spirit, if you will. What was the one thing? Was it the affairs? Was it the public backlash he got from that? And how did that translate into being such a bad golfer? You know, there's all the talk about the dark side, and he was this one person and his self-image. And if I had to make a guess, that's what I think it was. He had this self-image about himself that was absolutely shattered after the affairs and the scandal broke, that he could never kind of reharness it in a productive way that he used to do and used to use it for golf. He couldn't get back to that point, never has been able to. And this is just another, you know, he's supposed to be a family man now, and he's supposed to be worried about the kids. And what are you doing out at 3 a.m. with the kids? Worried about the kids? Or if you, I mean, maybe they were with his ex-wife, I don't know. But it's just a bad situation isn't even the word, just a bad spot. He's in a bad spot, and I don't know how he fell this far. And I've never seen an athlete get so mentally lost as Tiger Woods.
Well, this incident is sad, right? With all the back surgeries he's had, my guess is he has some sort of reliance on pain medication, whether it's Vicodin or something else. So while it wasn't booze, does he have to operate day to day taking all these pain medicines and pain relievers just to get through the day? He's had so many back surgeries. And in totality, my view on it is just an unbelievable fall from grace. You go back to the 2008 U.S. Open, 14 majors. He's unstoppable on this unstoppable ride to go catch Jack Nicklaus for the most majors all time. And then the infidelity happens with his wife. He backs into the hydrant. He loses it mentally. He's back on the tabloids where we saw him in 2008 and 2009 with all the affairs. And I just don't think he'll ever become the Tiger Woods that he was mentally, because when he went out onto the field, forget about health, he had this mental edge that everyone just couldn't catch up to Tiger. He was just one step ahead of them. And now I think he's mentally broken. And I hope that he'll play meaningful golf again. I think he'll probably win another tournament. I don't think he'll win another major. But to be on this trajectory to be the greatest golfer ever and then just like hit a red light and then just completely fall off the face of the earth is unbelievable.
Right. That's why I want to know, what was it? What was the one thing that broke you the most?
I think he probably realized he was a fraud, right? He projected this image. I'm a family man. I'm this. He pretty much was constructed to be the greatest golfer ever. His dad projected it when he was 3 years old. He didn't have a normal upbringing.
No.
He didn't go to have normal high school friends and date girls.
No, here's the thing. He's also a dork at heart. You know, and I mean that lovingly. But he's not really a cool guy. So he probably, you know, he became a really cool guy when he won all this money and won tournaments and was a celebrity. But he never really knew how to handle it. And that resulted in all kinds of errors in judgment and a lifestyle that he was not equipped to handle. And then it just went downhill from there.
And I put this on Twitter. At the end of the day, is he remembered as the greatest talent in golf history or what could have been a fall from grace? And I think it'll be both, you know, assuming he doesn't do much more in terms of accolades in golf. We'll tell our grandkids the greatest golfer we ever saw, talent-wise, was Tiger Woods, but he could have been so much more. He could have accomplished so much more.
When you look at some of the, I mean, for crying out loud, Vijay Singh, what was it, the Players? He was in contention. He's like 50. He just finished second at the senior PGA.
People in the Masters are competing in their 40s.
40s, Fred Couples is 58. He's still in. I mean, he had so much time left, and he blew it.
If or when he wins another tournament, a major, that's going to be... I'll be rooting for it.
He will never win a major again.
No.
He will never win a major again.
I also agree, but I'm rooting for him too.
I would root for him too, but he will never win a major again. And this, by the way, isn't just about affairs and a loss of self-image. All the stuff with the Army training back a decade ago.
Too much.
I read that book that Hank Haney wrote, The Big Miss. Army training, combat simulations, running with lead boots on or whatever. It screwed up his knees. That was all a part of this. Getting to look like a Rodney Harrison doesn't help your golf.
No.
You know? So that was all part of it.
He was a trendsetter in that he made working out important for golfers and other people's followed him, but he took it too far with the Marine training and everything that made him.
Go watch highlights of Tiger from 2000 at the U.S. Open.
And that was his best year.
And not only that, what a body he had for golf back then. Long, wiry, limber. That's a golf body. His body then was perfect for golf. Then he started to get macho. He wanted to look good in front of the mirror for the women. push-ups, lifting weights, big biceps, wanted to look good without a shirt on. And
the other
that
thing,
derailed
my
his
one
golf.
last thing is, who in his life right now is standing up to him? When you're someone with this much wealth and success, you have a bunch of yes men around you and hangers-on. Who, his wife is out of the picture.
No.
Who in his life is saying, Tiger, maybe relax on the Vicodins?
That's where you need a woman. A strong, solid woman.
And
to
his
do
ex,
that.
Lindsey Vonn, was trolling him on Twitter.
What did she say?
She said the future is bright, and it's a picture of her in her bathing suit, pretty provocatively.
Yikes.
Minutes after this became a national story.
Okay. The last thing just about Tiger, what I wish he would do, retire, you're done. Just retire. And then, because you've won all those majors, go back and play some of the, the best tournaments, the tournaments that you like the most, the Masters. Nobody would have any expectations. Nobody would think that you're going to be, in contention or wonder when you're coming back or this or that. You're done. You're retired. And then, hey, if you end up in contention, a la Tom Watson 2009 at the Open Championship, then that's great. What a story that'll be. But just retire. Take all the pressure off. And then if you want, secretly go back and work on your game and try to figure some things out. But
I like that.
You'll get out of the spotlight. You'll maybe get back, into form a little bit, and you'll have no pressure. And then you can try to find a way back into the light that way. But retire. End it. You're done. You're off the record.
I'm down with that.
All right. One more topic here, right?
That's right.
Final topic. There was a baseball fight. Not something you see in golf. Well, that'd be interesting. But there was a fight. Bryce Harper and Hunter Strickland from the San Francisco Giants. They have a history. Bryce Harper, obviously one of the best players in baseball, was a brawl involving Bryce Harper. Are brawls in general good for baseball?
They can be good for baseball. It's good for baseball in that we're all talking about baseball on this day, and baseball nationally is a sport that sort of lacks a daily conversation. Mm-hmm. I like it specific to Bryce Harper because he said, let's make baseball fun again, right? He's all about pimping your home runs and sliding into first head first and tossing his helmet back and hitting big home runs. And I think baseball needs that. And so does this attract a fan? I don't know. But I thought it was great that this guy, he hit a home run off him a couple years ago. He plunks some, and he's like, screw you. I may be the best player in Major League Baseball and have all these endorsements, and it's probably not a good look for the kids if I throw a helmet at you and start punching you. But he's like, screw it, I'm going to do it. And he brings a little attitude and flair to baseball, which I think it needs. And specific to the brawl itself, some people are like, oh, bad throw. I don't think he wanted to hit him with the helmet. I think maybe when he was cocking it back, he was thinking of hitting him and then realized it's probably not a good idea. So kind of threw it in his direction to perhaps scare him, but not to hit him. He landed one hit. I mean, it wasn't. Those things were always awkward. No one ever lands clean punches in sports brawls. But I like that he did. It kind of reminded me of Robin Ventura and Nolan Ryan back in the day. I liked that.
Does this fight help baseball? I guess it doesn't hurt baseball. Like you said, I don't think anybody saw this fight and then said, okay, where's my bat and glove? I got to go take some hacks. That didn't happen. He absolutely did not, or I should say this, he absolutely meant to not hit him with that helmet. That was not what that's chicken crap. He would have gotten crushed, I think, if he did that. That's not what you do. You just charge the mound, you throw some punches, and you go from there. Baseball's problems are bigger than fighting or whether or not there's enough fights or enough. You said Bryce Harper was good for baseball. Absolutely. The swag he brings to the game, the pimping of home runs, the attitude, that's good for baseball. Baseball needs that. What baseball doesn't need, or what's killing baseball or holding it back, I guess that's a better way of putting it, too long. Games are too long.
Too long.
The season's too long.
Too long.
Everything's too long. And maybe this doesn't sound good, but it's still too much of a gentleman's game. The jerseys, the history. It's a gentleman's game. The very, the button-down jerseys, like
belts.
Right.
What kind of athlete wears a belt?
Right, exactly. Tucked-in shirt with the belt. You need more swag. You need more of a hip-hop flavor to the game.
Baseball just also doesn't do a good job of marketing its players.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
NBA is a star league. You know all the stars.
Yeah.
If you asked a generic person on the street, who are the 10 best players in baseball.
Right. And the other thing with baseball, I think baseball has this going for them, is that it's a game that you don't need a lot of money to play. You can play in a small space, in a city, in the front yard, down the road, in the street. You don't need to get driven to a field. Just give me a stick and a ball, or like whatever. That's how these things gain popularity, because kids have access to play them. So it has that, but it just, nobody wants to play it because a lot of baseball players are viewed as kind of stiffs. There's not a lot of flavor to the game. Bryce Harper brings that flavor. That's why he's good for baseball, and they need more of that.
Well, in this society we live in, where we all have the attention span of 10 seconds, who wants to? What kind of 10-year-old kid wants to stand in right field and pick dandelions in between pitches
It's too slow.
when they can play lacrosse or basketball or football or soccer when they're running around? Yeah.
But like I said, though, baseball, at least unlike lacrosse, you don't need a ton of equipment to play. You get, I mean, if you're going to play stickball, you just need the ball and the bat. You don't even need a glove. That's why it's a good. You can play as a poor person in the city or in the whatever. You don't need ice time or a ride or whatever. That helps the sport. Americans play it, unlike hockey.
It's like Sandlot. It's America's pastime.
Right. Americans still play it. It's popular in America. It's accessible.
Central America,
people
South
know
America.
how to play it. Right. So you can play it, unlike a sport like hockey, where you have no clue who the heck that guy is from Sweden.
All right, that'll do it for the latest episode of Double OT. You want to add anything?
Nope.
Catch the full version online, WPRI.com, and on social media, at Mark Dondero, at Yanni Caracas, and we will see you next time.